Hello dear students, today we are going to start the third part of the chapter The Happy Prince. So let's begin the third part. When the day broke, he flew down to the river and had a bath. Tonight I go to Egypt, said the swallow, and he was in high spirits at the prospect. So the swallow took bath, it flew down to the river and took bath and returned to the tower where the statue of the happy prince was there, and he was talking with the happy prince that tonight I shall go to Egypt, and he was in a high spirits. High spirits means he was extremely happy, high spirits at the prospect. Prospect means at the thought. So tonight he will go to Egypt, and he was extremely happy at his thought because he was determined that tonight I shall go to Egypt. He visited all the monuments and sat a long time on top of the church steeple. So he visited all the monuments of the city, visited all the buildings of the city, and he sat a long time, and he stopped and sat on a steeple. Steeple means high tower of a church. The little swallow, he flew around the city, he visited all the monuments and sat a long time. That means he spent a long time on top of a church steeple. Steeple means high tower of a church. So when the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. Have you any commissions for Egypt? He cried. I am just starting. So when the moon rose is the past form of rise. That means at night when the moon was at the sky, the little swallow reached the tower and asked happy prince, do you have any work for Egypt? Commissions here means work. So do you have any work for Egypt? Because tonight I shall leave for Egypt. Now the happy prince is replying to the swallow. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, will you stay with me one night longer? So the happy prince was the only statue who could talk with the swallow only. The happy prince didn't have any other friend who can help him. That's why the happy prince was requesting the swallow that please can you stay for me for one night. Now the swallow replied that I am waited for in Egypt, answered the swallow. The swallow replied that my friends are waiting for me in Egypt, so I cannot stay here. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, far away across the city I see a young man in a garret. He is leaning over a desk covered with papers, and in the glass by his side there is a bunch of withered violets. His hair is brown and crisp, and his lips are red as pomegranate, and he has large and dreamy eyes. He is trying to finish a play for the director of the theatre, but he is too cold to write anymore. There is no fire in the grate, and hunger has made him faint. So now the happy prince could see another sufferer, another person who is suffering from poverty. So now the happy prince was telling the story, telling the scenario of that person to the swallow. So what the happy prince told the swallow? The happy prince told that swallow, swallow, little swallow, far away across the city, I can see a young man in a garret. Garret means small dark room at the top of a house. So the happy prince could see a young man sitting in in a small dark room at the top of the house. He is leaning over a desk covered with papers. So now the happy prince was telling that this young man was leaning on a desk. That means he was laying down on a desk and the desk was covered with papers. And in the glass by his side there is a bunch of withered violets. So, and in the glass by his side, and by his side there is a glass, and you could see that besides the young man there is a glass, and in that glass dry flowers are there. Dry flowers were laying there. His hair is brown and crisp, and his hair, this young man's hair were brown and crisp. Crisp means dry, which means that this young man didn't take bath for a long time, and that's why his hair is dry. And his lips are red as pomegranate, and that young man's lips were red as pomegranate. And he has large and dreamy eyes, and this young man's eyes were large and dreamy, and for that we can understand that this person is very ambitious. He has a great ambition for in doing something. He hopes to achieve something big. He is trying to finish a play for the director of the theater, and this young man is trying to finish a play. That means he is a playwright. A person who writes a play is known as playwright, and this person is trying to finish a play for the director of the theater. But he is too cold to write anymore. There is no fire in the grate, and hunger has made him faint. And this person cannot write for long because there is no fire in the grate. This person was so poor, he has nothing to buy, and for that he has no fire in the grate. Take this fireplace. He doesn't have money to buy wood and burn fire, and that's why there is no fire in the fireplace. Grate, G-R-A-T-E, grate means fireplace, and he has, and hunger has made him faint, and he has nothing to eat. That's why hunger has made him weak. I will wait with you one night longer. Now the happy prince, listening to the sad story of that person, the happy prince decided to stay with him for one night more. And from this we can understand that the swallow is very kind-hearted. Listening to the sad story of that person from the happy prince, the swallow decided to stay for one night long. Would really, I will wait with you for one night, said the swallow, who really had a good heart. He asked if he should take another rabbit to the young playwright. Now the happy prince is telling that I shall stay with you for one night long. And do you want me to take another rabbit and give it to that young playwright? Alas, I have no rabbit now, said the prince. My eyes are all that I have left. They are made of rare sapphires, which were brought out of India thousands of years ago. So now the happy prince replied that I don't have rabbits. I don't have rabbits because I had only one rabbit, and which I already gave you. Now the only thing I left are my sapphires of my eyes that were brought from India thousands of years ago. Now the happy prince ordered. He ordered the swallow to pluck out one of them and take it to the playwright. He will sell it to the jeweler and buy firewood and finish his play, he said. So now the happy prince ordered the swallow to take out one sapphire from one eye and give it to the young man, and the young man shall sell it to the jeweler. Jeweler means a person who deals with the ornaments, that is gold, silver, the person who has a business with ornaments. He will sell it to the jeweler and buy firewood and finish his play, he said. So now the happy prince told the swallow that give that sapphire to that person and he will sell it to the jeweler and he can buy firewood and finish his play. Dear prince, said the swallow, I cannot do that, and he began to weep. Now the swallow began to weep. He said that I cannot take out your eye, because if I take one sapphire from your eye, you cannot see with your one eye. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, do as I command you. So the swallow plucked out the prince's eye and flew away to the young man's garret. It was easy enough to get in, as there were a hole in the roof. Though this he darted, he came into the room, the young man and his head buried in his hands, so he did not hear the flutter of the bird's wings. And when he looked up, he found with his beautiful eyes, he found the beautiful sapphires lying on the birds. So the swallow plucked out the prince's eye. So the happy prince commanded that you have to take one sapphire from my eye and you have to give it to the young man. So the swallow plucked out the prince's eye and flew away to that young man's house, and it was easy for the swallow to get in because there was a hole in the roof of the young man's house, and through this he darted. He darted means pushed inside. So through the hole the swallow pushed himself inside the room, and the young man had his head buried in his hands. So the young man was lying on the desk with his hands, with his head buried in his hands. So he was lying like this. His head was buried in his hands. And what the swallow did? The swallow slowly entered, and the young man didn't hear the flutter of the swallow's wings. And when he looked up, he found a beautiful sapphire lying on the withered violet. So the swallow slowly entered the room and he kept one sapphire on the withered violets and he flew away. And again, when the young man woke up, he found that a beautiful sapphire was lying on the withered violets and he became very happy. I am beginning to be appreciated, he cried. So now the young man cried that someone is appreciating me for my work. This is from some great admirer, and this is from someone who cares for me, who admires me, who praises me. Now I can finish my play. Now I can complete my play. And he looked quite happy, and he was quite happy. So, dear students, today up to this, and in the next part we will start the fourth para, and I hope it will be the last para of your chapter. So dear students, if you have any problem, you can ask me. You have my number, and you can also text me.